On Larry King Now, the cast of Criminal Minds, Joe Mantegna and A.J. Cook.
People have a fascination of peeking behind the curtain of the world that they don't necessarily want to live in, but yet have a fascination with.
How many of these stories are based on actual?
I think more than the viewing public would like to know.
There's nothing we can come up with that's as weird as what's already happened.
It's a struggle now for me to just be the person I was before the show. I was a naive girl, and I kind of miss that naive girl a little bit.
Plus,
You know what I like about Shamar, though? He's the whole package, because when you see somebody who's that good looking, you think to yourself, well, they have to be stupid.
all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Today's topic is Criminal Minds. My guests are two of the show's longtime stars, Joe Mantegna and A.J. Cook. They play David Rossi and Jennifer J.J. Giraud, special agents working for the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit. I love this show. The 200th episode of Criminal Minds airs Wednesday, February 5th. It airs at 9 p.m. on CBS. CBS owns all these procedurals. What do you make? Why do these shows work?
That's a good question, Larry.
Why?
I don't look a gift horse in the mouth, though, to tell you the truth. You know what? Part of it, I think, is people have a fascination of peeking behind the curtain of the world that they don't necessarily want to live in, but yet have a fascination with. That was an answer I used to give, especially when I did like the movie Godfather 3 years ago, and it was the fascination with the Godfather movies. I always thought, it's that whole thing of, again, of looking behind, we know that exists out there. Just like in Criminal Minds, we deal with serial killers and these crazy, sick kind of individuals that exist out there. We don't want to be part of it, but we don't mind peeking behind the curtain and seeing what the wizard is doing.
You left the show.
I did.
Did they write you out?
Yes, season 6, two of the women, myself and Paget Brewster, left for a little bit, but we came back, and actually that's what the 200th episode is going to be about. It's about what JJ did during that 6th season that she went away. So.
How did they explain it? Give me a little clue.
Oh, well,
Just give me a
JJ, JJ has this whole other side to her that you didn't even know about.
Yeah.
Oh.
As opposed to portraying that the network lost their minds and then rediscovered it and decided to.
Now, the previous shows, you're getting abducted, though, right?
Yes, yeah, which he directed. This fine, talented young man.
Episode 199,
yes.
which at the very end of it, you kind of see her. Now she's there, now she isn't.
Yeah, gloved hand, comes in, boom, she's gone.
How often do they use, they used to say on Dragnet, taken from the files of the LA Police Department. How many of these stories are based on actual?
I would say a good portion of them.
Yeah, I think more than the viewing public would like to know. Obviously, we take liberties and, write it so we can air it on television. But a lot of the times we end up having to change the ending so it's not as sad as what.
Yeah, they're often inspired by real. What we have found out in the 9 years we've been doing the show is that there's nothing we can come up with that's as weird as what's already happened. And we have real FBI profilers.
I've interviewed many of them. Whenever there's a serial killer, naturally, with the media.
We may have interviewed, in fact, guys who work on our show, Jim Clemente, who does a lot of this.
I've interviewed Jim.
Sure, well, Jim is on our staff and has been from day one.
And I've interviewed some serial killers, including Son of Sam. Why do you think we're fascinated with serial killers, all of whom, when they're found, he was the nicest guy?
Yeah.
Couldn't harm a fly.
Yeah. I haven't figured out why we're so fascinated with serial killers, but I think the reason why people are fascinated with our show is a lot of women watch our show, and when we meet them, they say, oh, we feel like we're learning something from the show. We're maybe making them think of things that they never thought of before. We had this one episode where the guy got into the house through the garage door, and you don't think to lock the door behind a locked door, you know what I mean? So he just got into the house
and also
through the garage door.
And also he took the woman's car,
Code,
and she had her name, home, and her navigation in the car, so he knew to do that. He was a valet parker. And plus he was able to copy her garage door opener. So those three things you learned in one episode.
Yeah.
You're actors, of course. Is it a working job, or do you start thinking about the FBI? Does it affect you?
Oh, I've become very paranoid, and especially now I have a child.
Well, you're Mormon,
now.
naturally.
Yeah.
I'm married to a Mormon.
Well, ever since I had a child, you know, I used to not let this stuff affect me at all. You know, I would just go home, you know, do my thing at home, go to work, leave it there, didn't even think about it. When my son came into my life, all of a sudden, if someone was looking at me a little too long, I'd be like, what's your deal? You know, just like Mama Bear came out, and I was so protective.
I think you can't help be impacted by it. But yet, on the other hand, one thing I do feel is that out of respect for the men and women who really do this job, when people say to me, oh, isn't it creepy you ought to always do that show? I think to myself, you know, when they say cut, the guy who's laying there with the rubber axe in his head gets up and goes and has lunch. The people who really do this job, they don't have that luxury. And so I can separate pretend.
A lot of them don't go out on crimes. They analyze a lot, but they don't go out.
Certainly, probably not as much as we do, not on that private jet like we do.
Yeah, I know, but they don't.
No private jets involved.
That's liberties, right? What's the relationship between the two of you in the show?
It's interesting, and you know, I was just thinking about this the other day. We haven't touched on this since that episode way back when you came in, but JJ was a huge fan of Rossi. His character is this very well, you know, he's written all these books, and he's this famous profiler.
It's kind of like you, Larry. I'd kind of been around for a while.
And it turns out that my character in college didn't know where she wanted to go next, and she went to see him speak, and he was pivotal in her making a decision.
And I found that out, like during an episode.
Yeah.
That's how she got into the FBI at a time when I needed to hear that because I was kind of down.
How many shows have you done?
Well, I've done north of 150 because I came in at the very beginning of season 3, so I missed the first 2 seasons, so I didn't do all 200, but I'm certainly happy with 150 plus.
How many have you done?
Oh, you know, I've lost track. I'm a hard one to track because I left for maternity leave for a little bit, and then you know, season 6 where I left. So yeah.
You're sure more than 100.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I know you love working steady, but you love diversity too. You get locked into something. You ever get a little tired of him?
I don't, because I know, partly because
you've played so many roles.
I have, but you know what? I've been doing this a long time, and I was looking for something. What I like is the lifestyle. I like 10 months out of the year that I'm based in my home here in Los Angeles. And then those other 2 months when I'm on hiatus, I do a variety of things. I do another show on the Outdoor Channel. I've done film projects. I do books on tape. I do whatever I want. So playing David Rossi, I had a lot of input on the character. I incorporated a lot of who I am, I think, into the character. So I really don't mind the longevity of that.
Joe and AJ will sound off on their co-stars and their competitors next. We're back with AJ Cook and Joe Mantegna, the stars of Criminal Minds. Its 200th episode airs Wednesday night, February 5th. It had a spin-off. It didn't work, right? What was that?
You know, I think the reason why our show is successful is for some reason this group of people has chemistry and it just works. I don't know why. It just seems to work.
Yeah, I mean, some spin-offs obviously have been successful. I mean, there's no, they had wonderful actors. You know, I don't know. It's one of those things. You can, you know, you have 2 things that you think both should be somewhat similar, but sometimes it just doesn't work.
Now, you two have job security with this, right? How long is this show contracted for?
Well, you know, we really have no security beyond.
Yeah, what is
you know,
security?
They renew it every year, but I mean, I will say, you know, unless they've lost their minds, I don't see us leaving anytime soon. Our numbers seem to be very good. So
Is the cast a close working cast?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. I think you have to be. In other words, to have that even kind of longevity, you kind of have to have that kind of camaraderie.
The producers have given me this. I haven't seen every. Which of the co-stars would you give the title of biggest prankster? Who has the highest maintenance?
Biggest prankster, I'd go with Matthew.
Matthew, yeah.
Matthew.
The party
goob.
captain.
The which?
Party captain.
Oh, that might be Shamar. That would have to be Shamar.
Procrastinator.
Procrastinator.
Shamar. I'd go with
Worry
Shamar.
wart.
Worry wart?
Oh, Probably me.
Mediator.
I don't know. Maybe Thomas, and I probably have to step in every once in a while just because I'm the old guy on this show.
Biggest flirt.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. I'd think maybe Shamar. Maybe Matthew, it's probably their neck and
Shamar
neck.
might fit all of these. In fact.
I know.
2008, Shamar was People's sexiest man alive. How did that affect the cast?
I don't think we even knew about that, did we?
Well, I think he should be every year,
Yeah.
to tell you the truth. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I like about Shamar, though? He's the whole package, because when you see somebody who's that good looking, you think to yourself, well, they have to be stupid.
Does he turn you on?
At this point, he's my brother. And, people ask me that all the time, and I'm just like, ew.
I'm amazed how talented and smart and everything else. He's the whole package. So
How has this show not gotten an Emmy?
we fly under. We're the bastard child, Larry. We fly under the radar. We don't get a lot of
How many
advertisements.
nominations?
I don't know. None?
None. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say none.
You had no nominations?
No, we're not that type of show that gets...
We don't get a lot of attention from the press and things.
Why?
I think part of the reason is, first of all, I think we're co-produced. There's two networks that handle us. I mean, besides CBS, what a lot of people in this country don't realize is that ABC has a big portion of the show. Like when we go foreign, when we do all these foreign trips for publicity, you think I'm working for Disneyland. Everybody's wearing mouse ears and things because it's all ABC. So I think because of it, it's like one network is thinking, well, we only own half the child, and the other network saying, well, we only
Is it
own
all
half
shot
the
in
child.
L.A.?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we love it. We
But
get
it's
to go home to our own bed.
We don't get the Emmy. We don't get. But as I said more people take a leak during our commercials than watch all the shows that do get a lot of the nominations.
How long does it take to do each episode?
8 days.
That's the
days to shoot
standard
an
working
episode.
procedure.
Yeah.
Peter Falk told me once that one of the problems with doing a regular television show, and he had to do with Columbo, was that often it was get it quick, not get it right. In other words, if you got 8 days, where he liked movies, where
No, of course.
is that troubling for you?
Yeah, I like this pace, to tell you the truth, because there's a certain pressure about getting it quick and getting it right. And I think if you can do that, then you can do anything. If they give you 40 days to do a movie, you can sleep for 20 of them. And,
I was telling you before, Al Pacino and I are good friends, and you did Godfather 3, right? Was that fun?
Oh, sure. Being part of that saga, I mean, arguably, put together makes it's film history. So
You're also Fat Tony on The Simpsons, right?
for 23 years.
Do it, Joey. Do it. Come on.
I did.
Give the people what they want.
Two Simpsons. That's fun to do. You stand in that room.
Oh, yeah.
And they're still there with the writers sitting.
Exactly.
And they drop the papers on the floor so it doesn't make a sound when it hits the carpet, right? Give me a little of Fat Tony.
Fat Tony was inspired by my dear, recently passed Uncle Willie, who lived to be 91 years old, but later in his life, due to the fact that he smoked too many cigarettes, started to talk like this. And so out of my homage to my dear Uncle Willie, I kind of incorporated that into Fat Tony. And that's kind of pretty much where the voice came.
You always want to be an actress?
Well, I started out as a dancer, and I always knew that I wanted to do something in the performing arts. And I grew up in a very, we didn't watch TV. We were, using our imaginations.
Mormon house?
Yeah, I grew up in a Mormon house.
Are you a practicing Mormon?
I try to be.
It's hard to be. It's very
My
hard.
parents are incredible people, and they are...
They're devout?
Yes, and I love them, and they're fabulous.
Are they in Salt Lake City?
No, I'm from Canada. I was like the only Mormon for miles. It was just...
Do you want to be an actor, a little Italian kid in Chicago?
I found out at 16. Up to that point, no, I wanted to be left field for the Chicago Cubs is what I wanted to do. And the way they're playing, I might still have a shot. But at 16 years old, I tried out for a play, and just the trying out for a play kind of lit a spark in me, and I haven't looked back since.
Back with more of Joe Mantegna and A.J. Cook after this. 200 episodes of Criminal Minds. Our guests are Joe Mantegna and A.J. Cook. Now, you replaced another friend of mine, Mandy Patinkin. Now, was that tough to step into that? Because Patinkin put a stamp on that, too, didn't he?
Oh, he definitely did. He definitely did.
And Mandy's a little weird.
Well, I know.
I mean, he's a great guy. But
I loved him. He was great.
I had the fortunate occurrence that most of the crew on Criminal Minds had come from a show I had done prior called Joan of Arcadia. So Joan of Arcadia, we only did 2 seasons, a show that I liked very much, but we only ran 2 seasons. When it ended, that producer took almost that entire crew, and they went to this show I had heard of called Criminal Minds, because it was just starting at that time. And within a couple of years, here I was joining the show. So coming in was, in a way, greeting a lot of new old friends, you know. So that helped the transition.
Did you know Mandy well?
I knew Mandy a bit from New York, sure.
Here's what Mandy said about Criminal Minds. The biggest public mistake he's ever made was doing that show. I never thought they were going to kill and rape all these women every night, every day, week after week, year after year. It was destructive to my soul and my personality.
Well, you should have read the pilot a little closer, that's all I can tell you.
It doesn't affect you that way.
No, as I said, I mean, it's the nature of the show and the fact that real men and women do this job every day out of respect and in a way, homage to them as an actor. My job is to portray that as honestly and truthfully as possible. So no, it does not bother me.
Does the darkness of the show ever bother you?
You know, I think we come under fire for that, but I think if people actually watch the show, they realize that the show is about the heroes that take down these bad guys. We're not sensationalizing, we're not, you know, making it look cool. It's about these people that spend their lives hunting down these horrible people and getting into the minds and hopefully catching them before they kill again. And I think, you know, it's unfortunate he said that, and he obviously felt that at the time, but
now Mandy's on a show where they kill people, a homeland.
exactly, you know.
That's why you take it all with a grain.
Different kind of killing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so, yeah.
It's hard to keep things light between takes.
Not at all. We are gifted in that department.
You have to understand, too, it takes 8 days, as we said, to shoot an episode. When you watch an episode, it runs 44 minutes.
Right.
So out of that 8 days, a big percentage of that time is we're being ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, very small percentage is actually shooting.
I'm told you're a big supporter of the Second Amendment, right?
I am.
Okay. Now, it is I hate to divert this, but it's a dichotomy to me. Were they talking about the militia, or were they talking about individuals?
I think they were talking about individuals, only because I think, I mean...
Why mention militia,
it's a much... Well, it's mentioned, yeah, but again, I think if we look at the basis of just what this country has been built on and where we, in relation to other countries on the planet, there's something to be said about the freedom of a person to have that right to bear arms if they want to.
But we lead the world in killing people with guns.
Well, but we also lead the world in democracy. We lead the world in a lot of things. We lead the world in a lot, and I think if you look at the reasons why certain things happen, part of it could be some of the freedoms. Now, I'm not saying some of those freedoms don't come at some degree of a cost, but yet on the other hand, if given the option, do you want this freedom or do you want this freedom taken away from you? I'm going to opt for having that freedom. Let's educate the people. You know,
like expanded, at least, background checks.
Oh, no, I'm not against a lot of having some control. It should be certainly no easier to get a driver's license than it is to own a firearm.
That's crazy.
You know, I agree with that.
All right, how have kids changed your perspective on life? What effect is it?
How hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a game changer. All of a sudden, you're not looking at life as, what do I want to do? And me and I doesn't, you know, it's about us. It's my child.
More important.
Yeah.
Your daughter's following, she's an actress?
One of my daughters, my youngest daughter, is an actress, and she was Miss Golden Globe a few years ago. And
really?
Yeah, she's done very well. She's got a film just opened this week, in fact.
Beautiful.
Your eldest daughter is autistic?
I do have a daughter with autism, my oldest daughter. She's 20, she'll be 27.
Does that go on into adult life?
It does. I mean, and that's the thing about, you know, I'm a big supporter of these different organizations that not just deal with the childhood aspects of like autism, but the fact that they become adults for a lot more years than they are children. And so it's, what can we do to help these, you know, men and women, these individuals who have to have somewhat of a struggle in terms of their lives.
There's so many aspects of it, aren't there?
Many different aspects.
That person can be autistic, totally different mannerisms than that.
It's a wide spectrum, and especially over part of the reason I think that it's grown too in terms of the amount of people that have been affected by it is partly because of the medical advances that a lot of children are surviving now at rates better than they were many years ago that maybe wouldn't have even... My daughter, for example, was born under 2 pounds when she was born. Now, I'm not saying that directly caused her autism, but there's a higher incidence in children who are born with such a low body weight. So, but 50 years ago, she
What's
wouldn't have
its
lived.
manifestation in adulthood?
Well, again, it's a wide spectrum. I mean, for my daughter, it's pretty much language-based. I mean, she's 26 years old, but in many ways, she still is childlike. It's almost like a 12-year-old. And her language is, she speaks in a language where English almost seems like a second language, and we're not sure what that first language is.
Wow.
So for each person, it's different. But it's, it's okay. These are the cards, we were dealt, and on you go.
Why are you AJ? Why don't you have a name?
I do have a name.
You got a beautiful name.
Yeah.
What is your name?
It's Andrea. Andrea Joy, but when I tried to join the union up in Canada, ACTRA back in the day, there was already an Andrea Cook, and they wouldn't let me have my name. So I decided to go with my initials. Yeah.
Joe Mantegna is your name, right?
Joe Mantegna is my name. Yeah, no, it was John Smith, and I changed it to Joe Mantegna.
Joe and AJ will answer your questions after the break, plus we'll play a little game of If You Only Knew. Don't go away. 200 episodes of Criminal Minds with AJ Cook and Joe Mantegna. Let's get into some questions, social media questions. CM Crazies via Twitter. What was your favorite part of filming the 200th episode?
Oh, the favorite part for me was finally getting the chance to tell everyone JJ's story. There's been so much mystery around who this character is, and the fact that they decided to write it for the 200th episode was a lot of pressure. I didn't want to screw it up. So, yeah, it was a blast. It was like making a mini action movie.
How about for you?
I had directed the 199th episode, so for me, the best thing was the fact that I didn't have to direct this one.
You like directing?
I did, but it's such a demanding thing. You go from being one of the soldiers in the Army to the general, and so it's a big jump, so.
At Christy D tweets, how has Criminal Minds changed your lives? Do you see people differently?
Yeah, I do. But, it's a struggle now for me to just be the person I was before the show. I don't know if that makes sense, but I was a naive girl, and I kind of miss that naive girl a little bit.
You're wearing suspenders?
I am. I wore them just for you.
There you go.
Look. Hey.
Why didn't you have them on then?
Because I wanted to make a meal of it right now, I wanted to...
little...
Just,
Yeah, except now I can't get them up.
There you go.
There. Well, we'll do one. I don't want to totally...
That's hip.
Yeah.
There you go,
let's
Larry.
start a new
Look,
trend.
AJ,
I like it.
the one look.
Yeah.
It's going to be a total change of my career.
Could be.
At Save Draconia tweets, have you ever been really disturbed by some of the material you need to study to
Yeah.
get the episode right?
I'm disturbed by any of the cases that involves children and, pedophiles,
think
any
we
of
all
that,
know.
it's...
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, again, like I say, I think there's some value to be learned by knowing what's going on, and so that some instances people can avoid being in certain circumstances.
At Decanio85 asks, if Larry King was the unsub, what would his profile be? The unsub being the unknown subject.
Oh, man. I'm going to
What would
hand
my
this one
profile
off to
be?
you.
Well, the first thing would be, let's look for the guy with the suspenders
Yeah.
on. Maybe the guy with one suspender on we might be looking for.
Why does he strangle people with suspenders?
Yeah, there you go.
We now will play a game of If You Only Knew. Just quick questions. What was your first impression of Joe Mantegna?
Just salt of the earth. Good man.
Liked him right away.
Absolutely. He never felt like the new guy. He
First
was just-
impression of her.
I wish I was 40 years younger.
Oh, Joey.
What would you change about you?
Oh, to not be so sensitive about things. I'm a Cancer.
If you were stranded on a desert island, what three things would you have with you?
My son and my husband and a lighter.
Oh, yeah, good. You?
Wow.
What would you have?
Boy, since I have a wife and two daughters, I guess that, yeah.
You can borrow
Can't
my
look past
flame,
that.
okay?
Very good.
First movie or show you saw Joe in?
Probably Godfather 3, yeah.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Well, it's food. Food.
Any type?
Yes, kettle chips. The salt and vinegar kettle chips. Oh,
Yeah, I like kettle chips.
they're so good. The crunchiness.
Yeah, the crunchy.
Oh, it's good.
What's your favorite food? Got to be something Italian. What kind of pasta? No?
Yeah, no, I do. I like all kinds of pasta. Actually, I don't like spaghetti, though. What's funny is I like every noodle but spaghetti, and I think it's because in grammar school, on Italian day in grammar school, and the lunch room, they give you the spaghetti. And it was like so bad that it gave me an aversion to that shape of noodle. So I'll eat any other kind of noodle, but the actual spaghetti brings back memories of like grammar school.
You have a favorite Criminal Minds episode?
200.
You?
I do a lot with the United States military, and so we did an episode last year that dealt with my character and his history in Vietnam, and we find out that my commanding officer was homeless now on the streets of Los Angeles. Why? And we cast the wonderful actor Meshach Taylor, who I've literally known for over 40 years. And the one I directed this year, where we were able to do the sequel to that episode, like part 2, like what happened to the homeless Vietnam vet. And
You directed yourself?
directed myself.
So when you stand behind the camera, you say, and then run in front?
Yeah, I looked out and said, boy, he's doing a great job.
Yeah. Don't change a thing, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
If you could play another character on Criminal Minds, who would you play?
Dr. Reed. I don't want his dialogue, but I think it'd be fun to wear his cool sweater vests.
Yeah. I'd play Morgan because I want to look like Shamar Morgan for at least a moment in my life.
Something about you we don't know.
Oh, something about me that you don't know. Boy, my life is such an open book, it seems like, after so many years in show business. What is it that
Something about you we don't know.
think about?
Well, you know, him and Shamar are similar in a lot of ways. I think that's something people don't know. You guys, I see you girls over there talking and looking at your tweets and all that stuff. It's pretty funny.
Thank you both a lot. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks to our guests, Joe Mantegna, A.J. Cook. The 200th episode of Criminal Minds airs Wednesday, February 5th, 9 p.m. on CBS. You can find me on Twitter at King's Things, and we'll see you next time.